but should not fourth, F-O-R-T-H, be fourth, F-O-U-R-T-H? Let me point out some glaring factual errors in this article you deemed worthy of publication. In the first paragraph, you identify Purgatory City's resident Jackals being led by Captain Mike McCulloch, a former Texas Ranger. Well, Matthew McCulloch is indeed a former Texas Ranger, driven out of that valiant organization by politics, not justice, but he never served as a captain. You call him a notorious horse thief. He catches wild mustangs, sir. Usually he's only stealing them from the herd of wild mustangs. Horse thieves, as you have rightfully pointed out, are among the lowest dregs of humanity, and they are often summarily executed. Very true. Out here, where a person's life might very well depend on his horse, we West Texans tend to regard horses as our best friends when the chips are down. So when a man steals a horse, he puts the horse's owner's life at risk. And I have seen at least one man who was hanging from a telegraph pole for stealing a horse. However, Matthew McCulloch, as far as I know, and I know him pretty well, has never once hanged a horse thief. Granted, he has beaten one or two to a pulp, and he said he shot Grover Blue in the thigh when that rapscallion tried to steal a fine stallion with some thoroughbred running in its blood, but McCulloch knows the laws of Texas, and stealing a horse has never, ever been a capital offense. Likewise, in your narrative, you missed your aim in your description of Sean Keegan, who I have previously mentioned in this letter. But at least you spelled his name right. However, Sean Keegan, who, like many a good Irishman and many a Yankee soldier, does enjoy a go at fisticuffs every now and then, quite possibly he's brawling somewhere as I write these words, and quite probably he's knocking a tooth loose while you read my letter. But you call him a former army captain. Why, sir, such a libel as that would send Sean Keegan riding hell-bent for leather from here to Immigrant City to challenge you to a fight for the sake of his County Cork honor. Sean Keegan would never have accepted an officer's commission. During his valiant service in the post-war army, he was a sergeant, many times a sergeant, when he wasn't being stripped of a stripe and bumped down to corporal or rank trooper for defending his Irish honor, or, more than likely, having 1 or 20 too many rounds of his beloved Irish whiskey. And lastly, there is your description of Jeb Breen. Jed with a D, not Jeb with a B. And Breen without an E at the end. You call Jed a bounty killer. The proper term, sir, is bounty hunter. Yes, Jed Breen has killed, but only when his life or someone else's life was at risk. While he has the reputation of bringing more men in dead than alive, if you took time to check with Texas Rangers, U.S. Marshals, judges, jailers, attorneys at law, and county sheriffs, you will learn that most of the men Jed brings to justice are turned in standing, breathing, maybe bruised, but certainly alive, at least long enough to hang by the neck till they are dead, dead, dead. You also described Mr. Breen as the silver-haired fox. His hair is pure white, sir, not silver. White as a summer cloud. White as a handkerchief freshly laundered. Now, about those traders you referred to as honest, law-abiding merchants, I suppose they are traders, although I don't think the law allows for what they have been trading. Recently, hundreds of thousands of Americans died to end the barbaric, yes, I say this as a Texan, practice of slavery. Traders might be one way to describe them. White slavers is another, although that is not entirely accurate either. For these so-called traders you describe as fine and honest dealt Indians from Mexico and New Mexico Territory, and Mexicans from south of the Rio Grande, and even some from the fine state of Texas, and yes, whites too. White, Indian, and Mexican women and children, especially young boys who could be sold to work as slaves in the mines down in Mexico.